Breakfast with Friends. I am so excited. I'm nestled here between two of the longest running mayors who are not only share a friendship, but a few boundaries. And we're going to have a great chat. Mr. Krantz, this is going to be a fabulous breakfast here at Coors today in Milton.
Well, thank you very much, Kelly, for having me being part of it again here, as you and I have done this on the odd occasion in the past. I'm very much looking forward to it, as I refer to it every once in a while, as chit-chat with a very good friend of mine, Mayor Hazel and Gord from, of course, the city of Mississauga there. Hazel and I go back sometime, not only as mayors in our respective communities, but as friends as well. So really look forward to that chit-chat, as I just referred to in the next short while. So Hazel, welcome to Milton, welcome to Coors, and welcome to Milton Today TV.
I feel right at home in Milton and Coors.
And the food is great. We've already got our fruit platter, great service. But you know what, this taking a step back, congratulations, you've both been, again, re-elected for another 4 years, which is exciting. You've got such a rich history in both of your communities. Hazel, 1978, Gord, 1980, stepping back that many years, the political, it's evolved, but it's changed so much. We were speaking before we went to camera, whether it's newspaper coverage, just the different wards for us here in Milton, new faces, old faces. Take us back. Has it changed being involved in politics 30 years ago to where it is now? Is it a different sort of game?
Oh, it definitely is. And again, you know, it's just changed so much. And of course, the Municipal Act has changed as well, where some of the rules that we used to have to play by has certainly changed now too. And are they all for the better? Well, probably most of them are, but I wouldn't suggest every one of them. But again, Hazel and I have seen that transition over those many years. Kelly, one of the things that I think I'd be remiss if I didn't share, that Hazel took the lead back probably 20 years or so ago in forming an association which was referred to as the GTA mayors at that particular point in time, to bring all the communities together, even before the province recognized the GTA. And Hazel can maybe just share some of those challenges with, at that time, Hazel, roughly 30 of us mayors.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was a very interesting undertaking. It was voluntary. There was really it wasn't an official organization, but I felt that the Greater Toronto Area is an economic unit, and that we must be working together, because, quite honestly, people live in Vaughan and work in Mississauga. People live in Mississauga and work in Milton or Ajax. So we really are an economic unit. And we had some, we made a lot of progress, Gord, during the 10 years that I chaired it. We pressured the provincial government on issues, and therefore we had a united voice on the issues. And the province looked at us, I think, with some concern, because, quite honestly, if you ever put the municipalities within the Greater Toronto Area together, it really could form a province. And it could be a challenge to the provincial government. It
definitely was very effective, Hazel, as far as I was concerned, and we took a real leadership role in that. So I personally, once again, want to thank you for that leadership role in that particular part in our history in the GTA. So, but you know, Kelly, Hazel and I have experienced many firsts. As an example, more recently, there was a common boundary issue where we agreed, Milton and Mississauga, to change some of those boundaries without very few issues. Hazel and I started that process probably 10 or 12 years ago. And of course, the region of Halton got involved, and the region of Peel got involved, and they went sideways for a while. But if they had left it to Hazel and I, we'd have had it accomplished a long time ago. But it finally did happen. So that old cliche, I guess, anything that's worthwhile is worthwhile waiting for, and I'm sure Hazel would probably agree with that. It was to everybody's benefit.
Oh yes, I think it was. That land could not be serviced by Milton or Halton, and therefore we really control the servicing of it. And when the 407 went through, the province then should have made the change, but unfortunately didn't. But it was what you call a peaceful annexation. And there's not too many of those these days. I think of Barrie and Innisfil fighting, using lawyers and you name it, fighting the battle, etc. We did it peacefully, which I think is the way to go. By the way, Gord, I might mention that out of the group meeting of all the mayors of the GTA, we formed the Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance, which was a private-public We got the boards of trade together and the Chamber of Commerce and the private sector to get involved with us. And that is still operating today and doing great work internationally. It promotes the Greater Toronto Area internationally. And it represents the smallest municipality to the biggest municipality.
And how true that is, Kelly, just to share with the listeners out there, Hazel and I was part of a mission back, I guess, roughly 2 years or 3 years ago now, to South Korea, to Japan, and to Thailand.
Yeah.
Very effective mission there on bringing that international business. And we were not there just representing Milton and Mississauga. We were there representing the Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance. And of course, the contacts that we made, and we know that you eventually, there is not only the feedback, but there is results because of stuff like that. So not only is it local, it's national and international. And Hazel and I have been part of that for quite some time. Now, Kelly, the odd part of it is as well, you had talked about Hazel and I being around for a day or two or a year or two.
A couple of weeks.
But right now, we are in the, in the Remembrance Day mode. November the 11th is not all that far away from us when we are recording this. And of course, Hazel will recall roughly 30 years ago now, Hazel, maybe a little bit more, you were just nicely elected as mayor of Mississauga when a very disastrous event took place.
Yes.
And of course, that put Mississauga on the map, and you as well. And I know that you took a very active role in something that was a little bit of a disaster at that point in time.
And safely
It was
evacuated.
2 minutes to 11, November the 10th, that the train derailed at Mavis Road, loaded with chemicals, 15 different chemicals and cars on it. And the propane tank broke away from when the hot box, when the wheel went off the train, one of the cars, and punctured the punctured the chlorine tank. And then we had all this chlorine going up in the air, and as you know, chlorine is a deadly item. They experienced it during the Great War, right? So we had to evacuate 230,000 people. Some of them were out for a whole week, and but there were no lives lost, and we even looked after the animals that people had to leave at home, because when the police went to the door, they had to leave right away. Some left in their night clothes. They wouldn't even let them take time to dress. They said, no, you got to go, and you got to go right away. So it was quite an experience. But out of it, you know, out of every crisis or situation, there's always progress. And now, as a result of it, and I sat on the committee representing the municipalities of Canada, we now have the regulations governing the transportation of dangerous goods by land, air, and sea, even the storage of them. So out of it came progress. Also, municipalities then were mandated to have an emergency plan. It was voluntary before. Now it's mandated that all municipalities must have an emergency plan.
And I think, Kelly, that's a wise thing. You have to be prepared. And again, Mississauga, like Milton, we're in the flight path, of course, of Pearson International there. Whether it be flood, whether it be an airplane disaster, whatever, you do have to be and should be prepared for any eventuality. And again, some of the major highways run through our respective communities, such as 407, 403, 401, and there's a lot of stuff that goes through our respective municipalities, so you better be prepared for some of those disasters. And I think we in our municipalities are all the better off for that as well.
And being prepared, and even for Milton, has there been something that stands out in your mind over the last 30 years?
Well, yes, and again with some of the 401 incidents, and again the transportation of some of those chemicals that Hazel just alluded to, there's been some incidents there where you really have to be involved in. And not only today as mayor of the town of Milton, but Kelly, probably a lot of people aren't aware that I was a volunteer firefighter myself, personally, for about 21 years. So I've been there, done that as well. So I have a little bit of knowledge as to how important being prepared is as well. So
definitely. Now, we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to maybe get some plates and enjoy some of this food. And we're going to come back. Now, we've had a little chat about the past, but we've got to talk about...
Now, look at the presentation.
And I'm nestled between not only my regular co-host, Mr. Mayor Gord, but we also have Mayor Hazel McCallion joining us for this fabulous breakfast and a fabulous chat. And as we get back into our conversation, Hazel McCallion, we have a question from one of the viewers asking how you got involved in politics. So take us back.
Well, I was in the private sector for some 30 years. I was office manager of a large construction company that I started with them in Montreal. They transferred me to Toronto to set up the office to build the world's first synthetic rubber plant at Sarnia, Ontario. And after that was during the war, we had a very top priority. We could go into any plant to take over the production. And I finished the contract, and then they gave me a choice of going back to Montreal or staying in Toronto. I like Toronto, so they transferred the head office from Montreal to Toronto, so I could continue to represent them until after the war. Then I got married, and Sam and I moved to Streetsville, and we got very much involved. He got involved in the Anglican Church, and so did I. I became president of the Streetsville District Chamber of Commerce. And then the mayor of at the time invited me to join the planning board. So I joined the planning board, became chairman of it, and then I got really pushed to go for politics. So I ran the first time and was defeated. I ran against, no women were on council then, and they didn't know where this wild woman came from that wanted to get into the world of politics.
Hurricane Hazel.
So, but the next year, that was a one-year term then.
That's right. Wow.
Next year I ran and won, and then I was appointed Reeve, and then ran for mayor of Streetsville from 70 to 73. Then along came regional government, and after sitting on the City of Mississauga Council for 2 terms, I ran for mayor. I've been mayor ever since.
And now
that's it.
That's the story. She's sticking to it. Mr. Krantz,
thank you, Kelly, for asking that. And again, going back and again reflecting as Hazel did, when I was first elected, of course, in 1965, they were one-year terms. So you were constantly in the election mode. But how I got involved, of course, I was in the oil business in Milton here for quite some time. I was involved in the Chamber of Commerce. And of course, I know that they accuse women often about chit-chatting or gossip in beauty salons.
Yes.
Well, listen, let me assure you that some of us guys are just as bad.
So the barbershop's just as bad, okay.
Just as bad. Now, I was in the barbershop one day and probably complaining about what the council was doing or not doing, and someone said, well, you know, if you think you can do any better, why don't you run? And that's all I guess I needed, and of course, you know, it was coming up close to nominations, and nominations at that time was a little different than they certainly are today. All you had to show up at the public meeting, have somebody to move and second. You had to be a Canadian citizen, of course, or a British subject, live in the community, own property, or rent. Of course, I go there, unbeknown to my wife either, that I was really interested
Olive had no idea.
And she had absolutely no idea. So I go to this meeting. Of course, she knows where I'm going, and I go up there, and a couple of people that I know reasonably well, like, what are you doing here? Well, I'm just kind of half interested. Are you interested in running for politics? Well, it could be. So, well, doesn't somebody get up and move that I stand for election? Somebody seconds it. Then, of course, they go through all that process, and it comes a time to either accept or decline. And I thought, well, boy, time, I guess I stepped up to the plate. Still remember that conversation in the barbershop. So I said, I accept. And of course, as they would say, no, the rest is history.
So how'd you tell Olive? Just over dinner?
Very, very carefully and very cautiously. She could not believe that I was running for politics. And of course, I was elected on that trip around. And of course, as they say, the rest is history. And very much enjoyed it. But out of it all, I'm sure Hazel would probably agree with me. There's rewards that come with it, but there's also challenges and frustrations. It's those rewards that I allude to. Especially when you know you help your fellow citizen in your respective
and growing communities.
And growing
you both
communities.
represent.
It's a real challenge from time to time. And I know I've always taken that approach. I'm here to attempt to satisfy the majority of the people, the majority of time, not all the people all the time, because that just will not happen in our present day society.
Now, coming from business backgrounds, do you think, as mayor of these two communities, do you run these communities as a business? Is that something you bring in? Give us just your view of both of you, how you take on that mayoral role.
Well,
oh my gosh.
Well, I
Hazel, you
promised.
go ahead
Yeah,
there
well, I
first.
promised to run the city like a business. I've never promised to reduce taxes.
Okay,
or
well,
to
I'll
freeze
just give her a call
taxes.
right now, babe.
I've assured my citizens I will
Thanks.
give them value for the taxes they pay, because you know, running a municipality, you can't run it completely like a business. There's certain rules and regulations that you must follow because you are a public body, but you can certainly run the administration like a business and make sure that you have efficiency, that you have good sound financial planning. You know, we have a 10-year capital budget, 10-year operating budget. We know down the road
Hey, Mom.
pretty
You have
well
to pick
what's
up
going to
Logan.
happen unless the
Just got a call
province
from
or
the
federal
office.
government pulls a fast one on us and
Yeah.
downloads
Yeah.
services on
Ciao.
us that we didn't
Which they've
expect.
done in the past, too.
Which they're very good at, by the way. But you know, we only have one source of revenue, and that's property tax. The federal and provincial government has many sources: liquor tax, sales tax, income tax, fuel tax, you name it. We have one, property tax. And so therefore it's very difficult for us to operate with social costs on our property tax and health that should not be on our property tax. So we have challenges.
Kelly, I concur and am on the same page as what Hazel is with pretty well everything there. And again, I've gone on record on more than one occasion on running the municipality as a business. And Hazel's absolutely right. The Municipal Act dictates certain things that you can do or should do or couldn't do. But and again, Hazel alluded to those promises of zero tax increases. Hazel, like me, we are one vote on a council. In my case, there's 11 of us. But I know, albeit it's a while back now, a few years back, that Milton Council went and had a 0% increase. And I think, in my opinion, that was a mistake. If you don't keep up to at least the rate of inflation, in or around or about, you'll get behind. So I always advocate that when we talk about budgets. If we're at and in and around the rate of inflation. As an example to illustrate, if inflation is 2%, 1.5 or 2.5, it doesn't matter a little bit, either one way or the other for me, but you got to stay fairly close to it because it'll impact on you sooner or later running a municipality, because price of gas, price of asphalt, price of, you know, the cost of labor, wages keeps going up. So even though we have added assessment, which certainly helps, but you've got to be very, very careful of keeping that balance there because it's critical.
I tell them, our people, running a city is no different than running a house. You got repairs in the house. We got a lot. That's not only one building we own hundreds and hundreds of buildings. Secondly, when hydro rates go up, think about what the city's hydro rate goes up. When we pay more for gas, think of all the vehicles the city has. You know, and people got to realize, and by the way, if you call a plumber today, 15 years ago you called him, it might be $25 or $30. Today it's $100. So, you know, it's no different than running a house. You have a budget, you shouldn't spend what you don't earn, and we have to balance our budget. You know, a lot of people think that we can have a deficit. We cannot, as a municipality, have a deficit. We must balance our budget, operating budget. The only thing we can do is for our capital costs, we can borrow money. And there's a limit in that as well. But people think, we have to balance our budget. Whatever money is needed to run the municipality, we must raise the revenue. We have no choice.
Well, you know, Kelly, not only that Hazel and I take our role very serious, but we do get out every once in a while and have a little bit of fun. As an example, Hazel and I have been out fishing in the past. And let me tell you, if anybody ever wondered whether Hazel is a competitor or not, regardless whether she's on skates or regardless whether she's got a fishing pole in her hand, Hazel is a great fisherman. I don't know whether you're aware.
And your dad grew up with your dad involved in...
oh yeah, well I can't, you know, I grew up on the Gaspé Coast, and fishing was... but I have some pretty nice salmon on the wall of my office.
I can attest to that.
28 and 32 pound, caught right out and off of Port Credit in the lake, and a nice brown trout. So I enjoyed fishing. The great salmon hunt in Mississauga. We're the center for
I just called her and
brings
she's
a lot of
picking it up right now.
economic benefit to the city.
Yeah, she forgot.
And it's just great to see all those boats out on the lake fishing salmon.
Well, you know as well, and again, I talk about Hazel being a competitor, but she's one of those individuals that's very involved in the community, and I know the arts and entertainment sector is a big thing
We're
for
passionate about it here.
Hazel.
And
Definitely.
you were right behind that living arts.
Yeah, you know, I have to share with you, and I was with Hazel roughly a year ago now, and the proceeds that come from, I don't know, Kelly, if you're aware of it or not, but there's a wine that's named after
wine?
Hazel. Red
and a white.
And a white. There, and I alluded to the fishing thing. I think one of the wines has Hazel's picture on it. I think with a fishing pole on.
Really?
Yeah, the bobblehead.
The bobblehead.
Yeah, the hockey bobblehead, the fishing bobblehead.
Isn't that great?
The fishing bobblehead is on the white wine, and the hockey one is on the red, and they're both available in all the LCBO stores in the Greater Toronto Area.
And you know, the best part is there's a small portion of those sales that goes towards
$1 a bottle goes to my Foundation for Arts, Culture, and Heritage.
So this might sound like a commercial, and
It is.
I apologize for that.
It is.
Because
It's a 60-second spot.
It goes to such a worthwhile cause.
Definitely.
So if you get into the LCBO, have a look for that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's in Milton,
Yeah.
LCBO.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. And again, we're so passionate. We've got our new arts center. You're the driving force behind, again, the Mississauga. What does that bring to communities? Again, that you've got your library, you've got your performing
Well,
area.
you can't neglect the arts.
Yeah.
You know, we have to support the arts, and it's and you have to bring the young artists along. I mean, I'm always so proud when I see a young artist in Mississauga sort of go forth into the down to New York, etc.
and springboard.
And I think, isn't this wonderful?
To nurture that.
Yeah.
And that's what we're excited about. We've got the new arts center. Hopefully, what's the target date for us?
Well, they should be opening up, hopefully, Kelly, in March, end of March 2011. It'll take a few months for it to get up and away, but that's when it has to be completed. And I've gone on record before criticizing the province and the federal government, but I have to compliment them on what they did with that stimulus package. It was because of that it really allowed this to happen in Milton, and I suspect and know that Hazel and Mississauga took advantage of some of that stimulus money that come along.
We got 96 million, and we renovated our civic square that needed. You know, it was old and it wasn't as much a people's place as it should be. So that was one of the major contracts that the federal and provincial governments financed, and 44 million actually.
Yeah, we didn't get quite that much, but there was a total of 45 million that was pumped into the Milton, and quite a bit more in Halton here, as I suspect in Peel as well. So I applaud the provincial and federal governments.
Well, yeah, and I hope they will continue financing infrastructure because the stimulus program has created a lot of jobs. And I'm concerned, as the construction industry is concerned, that if the stimulus is cut off completely, and that because of the federal and provincial government having deficits, they can have deficits, we can't. And that they will not, if they don't put more money back into infrastructure, there'll be a lot of unemployment as a result of the contract.
You know, early on, Kelly, I had mentioned about Hazel taking the initiative, albeit 20 years or so ago, and setting up the GTA mayor's configuration there. And I'm well aware, and Hazel's probably a little bit more familiar with what's being attempted to be done now. I think Hazel through the Toronto Board of Trade, and again, on the assumption for a moment that the economy still lags behind on, we're going to maybe have to get together once again, regardless how it's reconstituted.
Well, you know, it hit Ontario hard because we were an automobile manufacturing province and manufacturing period. So it has caused a lot of unemployment in Ontario, and so we have to work together. I think we should be concentrating more on tourist attraction to the Greater Toronto Area, working together again, promoting the Greater Toronto Area, because there's some wonderful tourist attraction sites in the Greater Toronto. They're not all in Toronto; they're out in the surrounding area. I think if we can use a team approach, I think we can promote the GTA far more extensively internationally.
And we've definitely got some gems in our area as well.
Oh, definitely. Now, Kelly, I don't know about you, but I need topped up, so we'll
empty.
be back with
empty.
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 So
oh
no!
no!
Get a refill.
We've got empty plates, empty coffee mugs. We are here with the two mayors. We've got Hazel McCallion and Gord Krantz. We're having a great chat. I'm Kelly McIntyre. We'll be back with more Breakfast with Friends in just a moment. Friends, I'm Kelly McIntyre, my co-host Mayor Gord Krantz, but we also have a very special guest here at Coors, Hazel McCallion, Mayor, re-elected. I've got you guys on either side. We've been having a great chat. We've been taking people a little bit back with some history with the two communities and your stories, a little bit about the present, but we've got a question from one of the viewers that emailed this in. So I'm going to throw this over to you, Hazel. What do you estimate the economic benefit of your arts center has been?
Well, first of all, an art center doesn't make money. You have to, in the first few years, our Arts Honey, the Living Arts Center, ran a deficit for a number of years, but now it's breaking even. And what it does, it brings troops in, it seats 1,100 people, so it brings groups in, and that means hotel accommodation, restaurants, etc. It's hard to put a figure on it, but I can assure you that it will be an economic benefit to Milton, as it has been to Mississauga. But most important of all, it prevents people of having to drive out of town to attend many events. You know, everybody went into Toronto,
of course, that was
when we didn't have a performing arts center, and had to drive in and drive out, which is an environmental issue as well. Now they can attend the Living Arts Center in Mississauga. Now, a Living Arts Center in Mississauga, being next to Toronto, cannot attract the major shows that the Toronto facilities do. But we're happy with what we have been able to attract. I think it's a great asset to a community, and I want to congratulate Milton on having one. Brampton has one as well, the Rose Theatre in Brampton, and it's a great additive. Just remember that people would like to be able to attend performing arts shows in their own community and not have to drive.
And that live, work, and play in the communities, what we always speak about so often.
But Kelly, if I could just pick up on what Hazel has just alluded to, and of course there's very few, if any, arts and entertainment centers that will make money. And of course we're opening up the one in Milton in 2011. What we're doing right now, and we've been reasonably successful to date, on getting private donations to help offset some of the operating costs to start with. And we, like Hazel, hopefully in a year or two, we'll be at a break-even point. And if we can do that, that will be a huge, huge success. So right now, I think we're striving for a little over $2 million to help offset for a couple of years in those operating costs. So,
well, ours went to 5 million, so because it's a larger one. But to
facility.
think we got it down from 5 million to breaking even of its operating, I think is a real success story, and Milton will do the same.
I concur. Now, Kelly, just picking up, and again, I was handed an
Yes,
email
we've got
from a listener out there in TV land.
Actually, we could throw this out to the two of you, and whoever wants to speak first to this question, another email question that we've had sent in. What are your major priorities for the next 4 years? So who wants to take that one first?
Well, Hazel, go ahead. You're our guest.
Okay. Well, we have a lot of priorities. We have a new strategic plan for the city. We involved over 100,000 people. I call it a citizens plan, not a political plan. We have a new strategic economic plan. We have a new bicycling plan that in 20 years we will have the city of Mississauga completely connected with bicycle paths. We have a new strategic plan for the arts as a result of a task force I set up, the Mayor's Task Force on the Arts, about 4 years ago or 5 years ago, under the chairmanship of Mr. Gillespie, who was president of General Electric. And this year, I set up a task force on sports. We need a roadmap for sports. When your population changes, the needs for sports facility changes as well. Cricket is becoming quite the game. field hockey, and we don't have those facilities adequate for those. So the task force that I set up will be coming to us with a report in February, and from there we'll move on to a strategic plan for sports. We got a lot on the table, and needless to say, I'm sure Gord will agree to this, we have financial challenges. The cost of operating a city is going up. You know, we do have union agreements that are calling for a 3% increase. So what do we do with the non-union staff? So we have challenges. The cost, the hydro is up, gas is up, everything is up. Well, the budget of the city is up, and it's up in a big way. There's only one way to cut costs, and that is eliminate services. And I don't think the people want their services reduced. They want value for it, but they don't want their services reduced. So we have challenges.
Definitely.
Kelly, I concur with pretty well everything that Mayor Hazel has just alluded to. And the question, you know, to both of us there, what are some of the priorities? Well, some of my priorities, of course, for Milton is, and of course, the university, the Milton Education Village is high on my priority list. And
you've been working on that
for some 5 or 7 years now. So it looks as if it's going to happen, but there's going to be a bit of work to be done there. One of the other things as well is the Dairy Green, as we refer to it. It's a new business park area that's so critical to the balance of the assessment in any community. And of course, Milton in the last official census, of course, was the fastest growing municipality percentage-wise in the country. And of course, I suspect when the next census come out, we may not be there, but we'll be probably close to it. So keeping that balance is very, very high on my priority list. And those are just a couple of things.
Hospital?
We're always
health
care in the community is high there as well. And again, having the province, in my opinion, more involved in making sure that that happens. Because when they knew and when they legislated, Milton and the GTA for the most part are places to grow. They legislated, but they didn't come up with any cash. This is what's lacking. I've often gone on record as saying, if you say, you should pay. But to date, they've not done that. So there's a bit of a problem in that area. So those are things that have to be addressed, and I suspect that Hazel would probably concur with that.
Yeah, I concur with that. We're just delighted. Sheridan College is being built in our city core. Will be opening next year. We have the Mississauga campus, the University of Toronto, and now we have an Academy of Medicine at that university.
Okay.
Yes, which we're very excited about. That university has grown considerably, the Mississauga campus, and so people will be able to go to university and go to college and stay at home, save money.
Well, you know, picking up on that again, Kelly, a well-educated community is a very prosperous community too, so it's important people like Hazel and I make sure that our communities afford the general public that opportunity to be well-educated. Because
and we have to create jobs too, John. You know, unemployment is a stress. And I had a job challenge last year in which I challenged the corporation to hire more students, both university and high school students, because there were a lot of unemployed students last year. And they responded. It was very good. I'm going to hold another job challenge this year. We have a lot of unemployment, and we got to be concerned about the immigrants coming into our communities that don't have jobs. And we have to make sure that we turn every stone to make sure that the opportunities are there for them. So what we need to do is to put together, to try to connect those that are laying off people in our city with those that are hiring people. And right now there is no connection between that. And we're hoping to develop that in Mississauga, because there's, you know, trying to work with the unemployed. We've got to get people back to work.
Back to work and get working.
Kelly, I want to thank the listeners out there very much for some of those questions. They're very important questions, and as well, we would encourage anybody to email us with any comments or any questions that they have of us. But that was an important one. But Kelly, we've gotten another one here, and this is kind of an interesting one. What's the only reason that would make you get out of politics?
So what would make the two of you step away?
That would make both
That's
that
right.
question I suspect applies to both
Yes.
Hazel and I. So let me take a shot
Okay.
at it first. Then. Probably if I was to lose interest in what I'm doing, would probably prompt me to get out of politics. Or health. Health is very, very important. If you don't have good health, then you're not going to be probably doing your job. But to be motivated with regards to those challenges that are out there, and Hazel and I have both spoke about that earlier on. So that's the only thing really, if I was to lose interest in it, to get out of it. And I would hope if that ever happened, I would get out of it fairly quick. But to date, I got reasonably good health.
Oh, quick.
I'm still interested in
Knock
it.
on wood.
and all those things. So certainly Hazel and I have the mandate now, certainly, the good Lord willing, and we both being able for the next 4 years, and we both, I'm sure, take it very serious. So Hazel, what would prompt you to get out of it?
Well, I always said that I would offer myself to the people of Mississauga if my health told out. During the press conference that I called in order to send a little message to the residents about the type of council that, because we have not been operating as a team for the last three years at the city. And the press asked me, "You're 89, don't you think maybe you should be retiring? How is your health?" I said, if it was any healthier, it would hurt.
How true.
Now, the only reason,
on skates,
Oh.
you know.
4 years from now, I'll be 93. And I have decided that this is my last term. I think at 93, I should try to find another job.
Now that's the power
that's
of positive thinking.
I don't know what it'd be. But I feel just as excited about the next 4 years as I did in 1978. Because the challenges are not less. But I got to tell you, folks, I am concerned about what the printed media is doing to discourage people running for office.
Let's talk about
It's
that.
not easy.
You know, they question, the printed media questions, and even the journalists especially, question the integrity of the politicians. And they have every right to do it. But by Joe, the public should be questioning the integrity of the press. I can't believe how they can misrepresent the issues and not do their homework in reporting both sides of the issue. And they print retractions
But
on the last page of the paper where nobody sees it. So I think the time has come that the public, not the politician, the public should be challenging the integrity of the printed press, printed media.
Kelly, we've got another one here that's kind of interesting as well.
Okay. Now, you've had a chance to peek, so
I've had a chance to peek there and get my mind
so we'll have to go to you first. This next question from one of our viewers. What is the most difficult challenge you've faced in your career? And we'll go to you, Mr. Krantz.
Well, let me probably, having about 2 minutes to think about that, Kelly, one of the very severe challenges that we had as a council going back, albeit a few years ago, was the landfill issue in Milton and Halton. That was very challenging. And as well, not only the landfill issue for Halton, including Milton, but there was the toxic waste facility that was being looked at in Milton and Halton, particularly Milton back, some years ago. So there were two very severe challenges that really could have set the course for Milton backwards as far as I was concerned. But eventually the landfill site, as you and I know today, is in Milton, but after many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of challenges. So that was one of the big ones there. And as well. And this is where Mayor Hazel and I certainly was involved pretty well from day one with the formation of regional government on amalgamation. Don't ever think that wasn't a challenge. And in Milton's case, there was 5 different municipalities that had to come together. 4 of them, mind you, were townships, and then the town of Milton. So that was not an easy thing to do. It took some time for us to come together. So those are some of the challenges that I certainly recall. And there's the other little ones that come along, but those are 2 or 3 of the major ones that quickly come to mind.
Anything? We've talked a little bit about the incident with the train derailment. Is there any?
Yeah, that was a big because
I
was my first year as mayor. But I think Gord has mentioned regional government. Streetsville resisted it. They felt that they wanted to expand and form another, a larger municipality within the region. The other thing is, I think one of the challenges, we went through the landfill issue, and etc. I think there's challenges facing the municipalities trying to get. One of the biggest challenges that I've seen is working to get the federal government and provincial government to recognize that the economic success of the province and federal government is the economic success of a municipality. That's where the action is. It doesn't happen at Queen's Park or in the House of Commons in Ottawa, and we're not covered by the Constitution, which I think is an error. So therefore, we are children of the province, and they tell us what to do, and they tell us what we can't do.
And you know what, Kelly, we are the closest to the people at the local elected level. I know Hazel's door is always open, as my door is always open. Sometimes trying to get a hold of your MP, your MPP,
accountability
is a lot more difficult than picking up the phone or email or whatever to a local councillor and or a local mayor. We're accessible.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges, because the public is confused, and I think the governments do it intentionally. Many people don't know who is responsible for what. I find that very frustrating. But they look to the local government, think that we're responsible for everything, and we're not. And they don't realize that we have very little decision making at the local level. Very little decision making. We're controlled by the Municipal Act, and and then another thing that is misconceived out there is the fact that the mayor has a lot of authority. And in this country, we have the weak mayor system, and that is their only delegated authority. Really, the only authority we have is to declare an emergency.
We have one vote.
One vote on council, and people say, well, and by the way, if everything goes okay, yes, the mayor gets credit. Yeah. If it goes wrong, then it's the mayor's fault. They don't realize that the mayor only has one vote. Yeah. And I've got to convince 11 members of council, and it's not easy. And so the mayor, there's all kinds of misunderstanding out there as to who. Someday, I'm not going to happen during my term, 3 levels of government have to sit down, decide who is responsible for what, and therefore, where do they get their revenue to discharge those responsibilities? Right now, it's all over the map. Welfare, partly paid by the province, partly by the federal, partly by the municipality. How many people out there know that?
Yeah.
They don't.
Probably not very many. One of the things, and I know this reflects certainly on Toronto and Mississauga too, because the Toronto International Airport or Pearson is in the city, within the boundaries of the city of Mississauga. Immigration, if people come here as refugees, I know that it's a burden on the city of Mississauga. I
Big
know
burden.
that. To some small degree, we get a bit of it, but very little. But Toronto and Mississauga are burdened by that. So the responsibility and the jurisdiction, Hazel's.
Well, we pick up the tab for our 20% of the welfare paid to them.
Huge dollars, huge property taxpayers' dollars.
Well, we've got another. Okay, here's another question, an email question from a viewer. How has the HST impacted your municipality? So maybe we'll throw it out to the two of you, and we'll open that up for discussion.
Maybe Kelly started off. I don't know the figures as of yet, because this is something that's relatively new. We do know that it will impact the property tax base. And when I talk about impact it will impact it negatively. We're going to have to raise a bit more cash, as I refer to it, through taxes to pay for HST, which of course goes to the province and to the federal government. But probably a year from now, we'd be probably really able to tell you exactly what and how much it probably would have cost the average taxpayer in the town of Milton because of the HST, and I suspect the same would apply to Mississauga.
Well, yeah, we don't know yet. I asked my staff about a month ago, do we know the impact? We don't know yet. But I'll tell you what it did do. What we tried to do, this because of unemployment in our city, we looked at our recreational fees to join a recreational program, and we laid down criteria because we knew that maybe some families were struggling to enroll their kids into programs. So we reduced, based on criteria, reduced the rates. Along came the HST and wiped that out.
Yeah.
So that has a negative impact on the people.
Well,
But we don't know what it was.
Just picking up on that, and again, in the news recently, it sounds as if maybe the province of British Columbia may be revoking the HST. And
Yeah, the Premier resigned.
Yeah, I just wonder at the Ontario level here, whether the present-day government or the government that may or may not be elected in the next provincial election, which is just a little less than a year away,
well, yeah,
whether the same thing would happen. I don't know.
Well, you see, in Ontario, it's kind of a problem. Mr. Flaherty pushed it.
Yes.
The federal Conservatives pushed HST, and the Liberals bought it in Ontario, which I think has caused. So therefore, the Conservatives, as I see it, in Ontario are hard to go against it. So it hasn't affected Mr. McGuinty as much as it has the Premier of British Columbia. But it has affected. I think it's going to be. It's going to be an election issue. Maybe not a major election issue, but it will be an issue. What you see, when I have never yet, in my experience, seen when a tax reduction is given, that the citizens benefit from it. When the GST was reduced, I mean,
that's true.
You know, people didn't just rush out and buy it. It was going to really boost the economy. Well, I didn't go out and buy anything more. No. I don't know if you did.
Most people probably
didn't know.
You know, and this HST is being sold on the idea that the businesses are going to return that because of the money they're going to save in the administration. I'll wait for the day that I see that. Wait for the day to see it.
Well, we're going to, you want to maybe take a quick break?
Yeah, why don't we go to a quick break and again maybe get the coffee
just warmed up a bit. We got some great conversations here.
This is what you call chit-chat.
This is chit-chat at its best. And we probably have time for a couple more questions, so if you're watching, send in your email questions. Well, we're sitting with the mayors, so send those in and we'll have a chance to ask them, hopefully, so get on your computer. We're going to take a quick break, have a little bit more fruit, and back with the two mayors, Hazel McCallion, Gord Krantz, with some fabulous conversation, fabulous food, here at Cora's in Milton. Kelly McIntyre, Milton Today TV. See you in just a moment. Welcome back to Breakfast with Friends. I'm Kelly McIntyre, and I'm nestled between Mayor Gord Krantz. We've got Mayor Hazel McCallion. We've been having a great chat all morning, some fabulous food here at Cora's, and we've got another email question. Before we went to break, we sent it out to everybody at home.
Kelly, before you get to that, now, have you ever been caught in between a rock and a hard place before?
Today?
Today, I think definitely.
Or a hurricane, and what should we need a name for you, Mr. Krantz.
I haven't called it all, so.
A tornado and a hurricane. I got them right here. And you know what? As we're sipping on smoothies, we're surrounded by fruit. It brings me to this question that's been asked by a viewer while we went to break. And this is for Mayor Hazel McCallion. What is your recipe for good health?
Well, the good Lord has been good to me all of the years with good health. I think, I joke about the fact that I was born on the Gaspé Coast. I think I ate fish about 5 days a week.
Your omega.
Good organic vegetables, no chemicals, homemade bread, homemade butter, milk right from the cow.
No
pasteurization, etc. And I ate a lot of molasses and peanut butter because I was a depression kid.
Yeah.
And so, but we had good food. We had very, very healthy food. I had to wear secondhand clothes and did without a lot of toys and all that as a kid, which didn't do me any harm, by the way, because the kids today don't know which toy to play with.
Oh.
I only had one. I think, you know, my teeth are very solid, and I think it's the good food that I ate till I was about 14 when I left home to go away to the city.
Then you discovered.
I didn't know what a hamburger looked like. So I really believe it's the good, healthy food I had as a child.
And we look at the communities, and we've talked about that too, our youth, and getting them active and getting them healthy and eating healthy. It's so important.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, let me just pick up, and I know that question was of Hazel, but I'm well aware, you know, of her eating habits to some degree, but I'm also more aware of her activities, such as, you know, being on skates.
I know that, and the
hockey.
hockey.
Yeah, and hockey. I was with Hazel in Niagara Falls and St. Catharines, and we alluded to that wine. When she was out there on her skates in Niagara Falls, they're opening up, you know, and that's what keeps her in great shape there too, is that physical exercise, and of course she gets plenty of mental exercise being involved in politics.
Definitely.
Can you imagine Sunday night at the Air Canada Centre, I will be coaching the Canadian Legend team against the U.S. Legend team. And I'll be coaching it on the bench. Can you believe it?
Talk about stories and reminiscing there as well. Kelly, of course, a very good friend of mine, and I know Hazel's as well, Johnny Bauer.
Oh,
you know, a Hall of Famer and just, you know, a great all-round individual. Hazel has a story. She's actually scored, believe it or not, on Johnny Bauer.
Really?
So Hazel has to tell us that story because I'm aware of it to the listeners out there.
Yeah, no, we had a game at the Civic Center on July the 1st a couple of years ago, and he was in the goal and I scored on him. But let me tell you this, what is very exciting, folks, because I've helped to get the girls hockey in the Olympics with the Ontario Women's Hockey Association. But Monday night, for the first time in the history of the Hockey Hall of Fame, a female hockey player will be admitted, Angela James, and I will be there. We've worked hard to get a woman into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Girls hockey is really growing. Male hockey is going down, but girls hockey is really flourishing.
It's on fire, even in this area too.
It's taken off here for sure, big time. So.
Big time.
But Hazel blazed the trail for a while back a few years ago.
I still have my skates that are coming.
And the Hershey Center, that's brought, you know, that's opened up a lot of possibilities and opportunities, right, for the areas. And you know what, in our community, I don't know if it's the same as Mississauga, we're so heavily behind charities and getting this community together to support different charities. And you have Hazel's Hope, you're involved in so many different charities. Is it important to you? I mean, we chat about this a lot. We have a lot of guests on that are, you know, with upcoming events. How do you feel about that type of thing?
Definitely, Kelly, it's really important to every community. And of course, I'm one of the charter members that's still around, starting United Way here.
I tried Facebook 33, and they said you have to enter an old password and it's changed.
I think she wants to access an older Facebook.
As I know Hazel does for charity. And I know the one in September just passed, we raised $156,000 just for one golf tournament. That's just amazing. We really do have to thank the business community and the public.
No, I changed it.
Oh, you changed it?
But you've got to be out there beating the drums, you know, shaking the bushes all the time, try and
face smell 33.
It's awkward. It was such an awkward password.
Yeah, and
big gala. That's right.
Twitter as well. So
I was on the World Health in Kobe, Japan, on the advisory board, and I went to Tanzania with them. And then a year later, I went to Tanzania with World Vision, and I saw the plight of the HIV orphans in Tanzania. So the head of World Vision, because World Vision's head office is in Mississauga, and the pastor for my church, we put together Hazel's Hope. We've raised $1 million to send to the HIV/AIDS, and all we asked for was a toonie. We didn't go to the corporations at all. It was I wanted the people to donate. And we had about 140 some children sponsored. And that's only a drop in a big bucket. I can tell you the need is really great. But you know, we have to share some of our quality of life in this country with other parts of the world if we want peace and harmony and elimination of disease. Otherwise, we'll never have peace in the world. So I think we all have to make a little contribution to the international and to the developing world, which is, you know, when you know that 600,000 people a year die of HIV/AIDS in Africa, and there's very little action on it. And yet, if a tsunami comes that takes the life of a couple of 100,000 people for one event, the world
comes together. Yeah.
And on this HIV/AIDS, thank God for Stephen Lewis.
Yes, the
He's
Stephen
been
Lewis
a
Foundation.
godsend,
Yes.
to the world, in which he has done so much to try to make people conscious of the people that are dying of HIV/AIDS in Africa.
And you know what else I found, because I had done some work in conversations with the Stephen Lewis Foundation, is the whole generation of grandparents raising their grandchildren and having their parents stripped out of their lives, and all of a sudden what a new role that they're just struggling to keep these families together, and the heartbreak that this causes and the devastation that we're not aware of here. Getting into our cars and driving off to work, it's something that we need to be aware of.
And you come home and
you changed forever. You must have been. It's haunting. It must have been to see those sites. But Hazel, is there a website for Hazel's Hope? Is there Stephen? I'm trying to remember the Stephen Lewis Foundation, or we could put that up on.
No, I don't think there's the World Vision web.
Yeah.
World Vision administers the fund.
And then Google that and find out a bit more information.
But I'm still getting checks every so often. Somebody. It's not just a one fundraising. It's an ongoing process.
Definitely, and it's something that.
And you know who responded? The school children just went for it in a big way. High school students and grades 7 and 8.
Children helping children.
Just really got involved.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, that raises an interesting point. How do we get the youth of our communities probably more engaged in the business of politics? And again,
I know.
Hazel alluded to that.
And
before.
women.
It's not
We
an
had
easy,
3 ladies running three women running in our area, and even
That's
just
quite true.
it'd be nice just to
get people more engaged at a real early
We have
stage.
9 out of 12 women on the council.
Well, that says a lot for Mississauga.
That's right.
With our new council that will be sworn in on December the 6th, there's only 2 females that will be
But a
on
lot,
11
but
person.
a few new
council.
faces, which is
7
must be
7 new faces.
new blood, new exciting ideas.
And that's great too.
We have 8 now. We dropped 1 woman.
You dropped one. Okay.
We dropped a good one.
Oh,
I won't name it.
okay.
I'm not going there.
You're not going there. Let's not go there.
Kelly, I know we're about to wrap up,
Yeah.
and I just want to personally thank my friend and colleague Hazel McCallion for being here with Milton Today TV. But I'm also well aware there's a very good chance of there being a Mississauga Today TV production coming up very shortly. So I'm asking, I guess, Hazel, and almost pleading, will you invite me when this endeavor and this station is up and away?
Listen, I'm looking forward to it. I think that a station such as this can do such wonderful things. It's a positive approach. And today we need a more positive approach in the media to the great things that are going on in municipalities. It seems that often it has to be I started a newspaper, the Mississauga Booster. It was the Streetsville Booster. We would not print any bad news, and we never did. I remember when my church burned down, I said to my son, "You're going to show pictures?" He said, "No, that's bad news." So I convinced him that we were going to it was going to rise from the ashes. So that was the headline, church.
Yeah.
By the way, Gord, I look forward to it coming to Mississauga. I think it'll be a great asset to the business community, to all the many wonderful organizations like in Milton that is doing such great work in the community that do not get the coverage that they should with the present media. So, and I will invite you to come. Milton and Mississauga have always cooperated. It's been a wonderful coordinated approach to politics. And he's only 2 years behind me.
That's right.
So
I got 32 years
That's
as mayor,
right.
and I'm only 30.
30
I got to keep ahead of him.
I tell you, ahead of the game.
Anyway, thank you very much. It's been a delight.
welcome.
Thank you very much. And really, Kelly, what it's all about is keeping our respective communities informed.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less. Sharing with the general public out there what the business is all about.
And
in our
celebrating the great
And the wonderful
things
that are going
Yes.
on in Milton and Mississauga.
Definitely.
It's got to be more promoted. And the
There's a
wonderful
magic going on that people
charitable
don't.
organizations that are working so hard to care for people.
Tirelessly.
They don't get the publicity and coverage they should.
No.
Hazel, again, Kelly, thanks for this opportunity for, as I refer to it, as chit-chat here at Chorus and Milton Today TV.
And we have cores in Mississauga.
That's
We'll
right.
have to visit Chorus
So
in Mississauga.
they have smoothies. They've got these beautiful fruit platters. Again, Coors has always been fabulous here. And looking forward to, you might get some sausages and some fruit over in Mississauga, which is going to be great. But we've had a fabulous breakfast this morning. And thanks again to all the viewers that emailed in questions, made some great comments as we've been going live this morning here from Coors and Milton. And we're going to say goodbye, but we're going to probably continue our chat because you've got some great guests. Again, my co-host will come here every Thursday morning, Mayor Gord Krantz, and our very, very special guest, the honorary Hazel McCallion, Mayor, re-elected for Mississauga, and Gord again celebrating him being re-elected again here in Milton. We've got great things going on in both communities, and again, looking forward to a possible Mississauga Today TV, and looking forward to meeting up again in the future. But for now, we're going to close. Thank you for watching us this morning here at Coors and Milton. We're going to say goodbye from Mr. Krantz, Mayor Hazel McCallion, myself, Kelly McIntyre. We'll see you next week.